Okay, so we're going to continue looking at invertebrates this evening, and we're going to get to some more complex examples of invertebrates. So to kick it off, we have Mollusca is the phylum, and it's composed of octopus, squid, slugs, snails, and bivalves. So mollusk has a soft body. Usually it's covered by a hard shell, so it has a hard outer shell, a rough tongue called a radula, and a muscular foot and mantle. Mantle is a thin layer of tissue that covers the soft body and secretes the shell. Aquatic mollusks have gills for gas exchange, and land mollusks have lungs. So there's a pretty big variety, and the examples we're going to give for each group are really going to be very familiar for you. So let's go to, a snail is a mollusk with a single hard shell, and then a clam has two shells joined together by a hinge. Squid and octopi are also mollusks. Their hard shells are small and they're inside the body. So for squid and octopus, even though it's the same phylum, their shell is inside. And then characteristics of all mollusks, you've got the mantle. Again, that's the tissue covering the soft body, and it's going to secrete the shell. They have lungs or gills, so they're for respiration. They are able to do that with lungs or gills, and they can exchange carbon dioxide and oxygen. So for the mollusks, their use of the radula is different. Some of them use that scratchy-like tongue to eat. Some of them use that to dig into the sand. And then for mollusks, some have an open circulatory system, which wash blood over the organs and lacks blood vessels. So that just means open circulatory system, the blood is just going to be, it's not going to be pumped through the system. It's going to be just kind of wash and flow back and forth over the organs. Whereas in the human, you've got a heart, you've got blood vessels and veins to transport blood that's oxygenated and then the blood that's not oxygenated. So types of mollusks. So for this part, you don't have to take notes on this part. This is going to be helpful later as you do your posters, but it's not something that I would quiz or test you on. So when we go and focus in on mollusks, we have gastropods. Most have one shell. They can live on land or water, and they're going to glide using their large muscular foot along a trail of mucus. And then you've got your examples of gastropods. And here's some pictures of gastropods. So for mollusks, you've got some different types. First type we are going to talk about is bivalves. And those are mollusks with two shells. They're ones that can close that shell up tight to keep animals out and to keep it moist if the water level goes down. So they need large muscles to do that, to move the shell open and closed. They're filter feeders, so water flows through inside their shell. They're able to pull nutrients out from that. And they've got gills, not to remove foot from water, the gills to remove oxygen from water. So you'd be thinking specific examples would be clams and other two-shelled shellfish. Try to say that 10 times fast. Then we've got cephalopods, and those are, you're thinking of your octopus and your squid. They don't have that external shell. They have just a shell inside, a small shell. Their foot, so you think of a slug and it's got that big foot that it uses to glide its body on. The foot of an octopus is divided into tentacles with suckers. They can move by using the mantle to quickly squeeze water and use it as like a jet propulsion to shoot through the water. They have got a closed circulatory system with blood vessels. So their circulatory system is a little bit more complex than our more simple mollusks. Okay, so then here's some pictures of some squid and some octopus. And now we're going to look at moving on to the next section which is arthropods. So this is, again, you're going to want to take notes on this because this is a phylum. So Arthropoda, composed of insects, spiders, ticks, mites, centipedes, millipedes, and crustaceans. Starting off with their characteristics. So again, they're invertebrates. They've got jointed appendages. Those could be in the form of claws or legs or antennae. Typically have a hard exoskeleton. That's going to be for protection. And they have bilateral symmetry. There's more than 1 million species of arthropods that have been discovered. So evolutionarily, they're a very successful organism. They're very widespread, so all over different parts of the earth, different environments, arthropods can successfully live. So continuing their characteristics, it's got this hard outer shell, which would constrict growth. So what it has to do is it's got to molt or shed that old exoskeleton off. And it grows a new exoskeleton that allows its body to continue to grow. They're the largest group of arthropods are insects, and they're the only invertebrates that can fly. That's kind of a fun fact about them. About the molting, I had a tarantula when I was in grade school, and it was laying upside down on its back for like a week, and I didn't know what was wrong with it. I thought it was dying or something, and it was just molting. And then after it molted, it was able to climb up. I had a little tiny tear in the screen at the top of my aquarium, and it climbed out of the aquarium, and it was just, the tarantula was loose in the house for about a week and a half. They came back from a weekend event, and when we got home, there were spider legs spread all over the inside of my parents' bedroom on the floor, and it's because my ferret had gotten to the tarantula and eaten it, and the legs were left all over the room. Okay, getting back on track. So insects have adapted to living almost everywhere. Over 700,000 species have been classified so far, and there's going to be still continuing to be new insects found in different parts of the earth. Their body has 3 parts: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. The thorax is the middle part of the insect. That's usually where the legs are going to be coming off of, and the abdomen is like the very back part, the butt part of it. When you think of an ant, that's a really easy way to think of head, thorax, and abdomen. The head has 1 pair of antennae and 2 compound eyes. So they're bilaterally symmetrical, and they've got more developed sense organs at the head end of the insect for sensing light and also being able to like sense their surroundings. The thorax, again, is the part with the 3 pairs of jointed legs, and can have 1 or 2 pairs of wings. Reproductive organs are located in the abdomen, and they have an open circulatory system. Oxygen enters through openings in the sides called spiracles. So it doesn't breathe through the mouth. The spiracles pull in oxygen, and it flows through the interior system and of the insect and transports oxygen throughout the insect. So insects can go through a complete metamorphosis. So that would be going from an egg to a larval stage. That larval stage is completely different looking in appearance than the adult stage. It's going to have to go dormant. It could be in a pupa, and then it would emerge from that in its fully formed adult form. This strategy, it might seem, if you think about in terms of evolution, why would an insect do that? At the different stages of development, they eat different foods. So the young insects aren't competing with the adult insects for food. So that's one reason, one thing that would drive a different development. Then you've got an example of an incomplete metamorphosis where it goes through, the insect goes through a nymph stage. So it looks very similar to the adult form, but it's going to take a few weeks and several moltings to form into the fully formed adult form. Okay, so now in this part again, you don't have to take detailed notes on this. This is just extra information about insects. So we're looking at spiders, scorpion, ticks, and mites. Their body development's a little bit different. It's just two main body parts. You've got a cephalothorax. Cephalothorax has the head and the leg part in one, and then an abdomen. And the cephalothorax has 4 pairs of jointed legs, no antenna. They do have special mouth parts, so normally going to have something like fangs in the spider example, or in the scorpion they've got their pinchers. They kill more insect pests than any other animal, so they're responsible for killing other insects. So if you see a spider in the house, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to hunt insects inside of your house. Then we've got centipedes and millipedes. Centipedes have many legs to run from enemies. 1 pair of jointed legs at each segment, so they have 2 legs per segment. They're predators, so they're going to feed on other insects. If you have a compost pile at home and you lift it up, that's typically you're going to see centipedes crawling around in there. In Hawaii, we had giant centipedes that are about like 6 inches or 8 inches long. And then you've got millipedes. Millipedes roll up. They've got that armor exoskeleton on the outside. They roll their body up when they sense danger. And they also have 2 pairs of jointed legs attached to each segment. And they're going to feed on plants. And last example, specific example is crustaceans, shrimp, barnacles, crab, crayfish, and lobster. Almost all crustaceans are aquatic and have gills. They have 2 pairs of antennae, 3 types of chewing appendages, and 5 pairs of legs. Okay, so now we're on to our last group, our last phylum. So you're going to want to take notes again on this section. Specific examples of this group would be starfish and sea urchins. They belong to a group of invertebrates that have tiny tube feet and body parts arranged around a central area. Starfish has 5 arms. They don't have a head. Their mouth's at the center of their body. On top, they have the hard spiny covering that gives it protection. A sea urchin is going to belong to that same group and has a body covered with spines. Oops, yeah, I went up. So the body plan for echinoderms, radially symmetrical. Their diets vary. Some of them are predators, some of them are filter feeders, and some eat rotting material. When the predators eat, what they do, if you go to like a pier, you could see a starfish is going to find a food source, pry open a shell. It's going to spit its stomach out. It kind of form like a, it's going to hover over the thing that's eating. It's going to shoot its stomach out of its body over the thing that's going to eat. It's going to digest the organism and then pull it back into its body. And then its simple digestive system is going to transport the nutrients throughout its body. They have a water vascular system. The water vascular, so water flows in and out through certain pores. That's going to help them to move. That's going to help their tube feet to flow. And some of them can reproduce through regeneration from parts. Here's your pictures of starfish and some examples of sea urchins. And that's the last section for this group. And this is our last group in invertebrates. So we've gone through all of our 8 of our phylums so far for animals, all invertebrates. And then our next section that we're going to go into is going to be vertebrate